Just think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts Damian Boach and Catherine Bramkamp.
This is episode 148, and that sounds like Zeus in the background singing along.
That is Zeus in the background. Apparently there is either somebody at my door or somebody who is wantingly using the street, which he considers his own territory.
Right. He sounds like such a tough animal.
I do. I have a fierce, tough animal. Fortunately, even though he's fairly low to the ground, he sounds vicious, and that's all you really want in a puppy.
Yeah, right. No, that's funny. I was letting that play, and all I could hear in the background is...
Yeah.
So, yes.
So the show is already going to the dogs.
I know, but that's all right. We should name it that. I did call this show It Takes Two to Tango, because it's just us two at the moment. But we've got Zeus now, so it's a bit of an awkward sort of thing. Awkward
There we go,
threesome.
because he doesn't have a lot to say about writing. He does have a lot to say when he sees me sitting absolutely still for hours at a time, staring at a screen, and I'm sure his little puppy mind is looking at me saying, what the heck are you doing? Because you don't look like you're chewing anything or digging up anything. You just don't look productive to me. Why are you so tired?
Unless, at some point in the future they unlock being able to talk to animals, and it finds out that Zeus is actually very well read and says to you,
yes,
the use of your syntax in that sentence is awful. Redo it.
Exactly. It's more like a Larson cartoon, like a Far Side cartoon, where the dogs are all erudite and being able to describe things very lengthy sentences. Who knows, right? So that's a creative idea. Lots of authors have tried that, where they try to get into the pet's head and show the world from the pet's point of view. It is a limited point of view. You have to be really careful with that, but we wouldn't be the first people to mention it or think of it.
No, but then those things always fall down when you have to try and cover why they need to clean their own genitals with their mouth. But anyway.
They don't say anything about that. I think the Shrek movies cover that a little bit better.
Actually, speaking of which, and people are probably turned off now going, they're not talking about anything this week. And that's true. I think we were supposed to have a guest, but they didn't respond. So
nope.
We'll sort that out later. So it's a bit hard to call someone on Skype when I don't have their Skype ID. But
yes,
I had an
it
email
is.
from you, which you're more than welcome to talk as little about as you like. But your Future Girls book is being published very, very shortly, because they got back to you, didn't they?
Yes, finally. Woo! So yes, we can talk about that, because that's near and dear to my heart.
Now, I'm trying to find the email you sent me, but there was something in it that your editor made a comment about when it came to...
Well, yeah, and you can actually get to in the next two blogs. So if you're listening and you want to know what a real editor says to a real writer, I quoted the editor for both next Wednesday and the following Wednesday, and she was very enthusiastic about the book and didn't have a lot of structural changes. She just had a little, detail changes. There were probably 2 sections that she said, I'm just not following this at all. And what I emailed you is I credit that to the beta readers. So if it wasn't for feedback like what you gave me, and you were not the only one, many beta readers said, this first chapter just totally is not working for me at all. I can't get into it.
Yeah.
So I redid it before I sent it in to the big editors, and it made all the difference, because I was able to go through the edits in 24 hours, and that was quite nice. That was quite heartening.
Yeah, because you copied me into what sort of her feedback was, and most of it was like, yep, I agree with that. But there was something about bodily functions were not acceptable.
Oh, no. Bodily tags. Bodily tags. So you can't say, did you, let me get a quick example by saying, well, I didn't like that after all, she shrugged. So you can't the shrugged is what the problem is. So tagging a dialogue tag with a bodily gesture is not okay in their editorial world for Eternal Press.
Because I was thinking that I pushed you to make sure someone goes to the toilet in that book.
I know.
And thinking if I've now destroyed your publishing opportunity because I said someone needs to take a piss, fantastic.
No. That it wasn't that at all. It was this. It was just interesting because I did that. I went through the manuscript and she flagged it and said, no, she can't smirk. She can't. She can bat her eyes because that's a full sentence. But you can't say, so you deserve that. She and then did something, waved her hands, etc. You need to go back to she said, then waved her hand, or she asked and then do that gesture in another full sentence. And I've been lazy and I oftentimes don't do that. So that was just a little heads up, and that's why I put it in the blog so that all the newbie writers could go see that and take care of it before you turn in something, and then your life is a lot happier when you finally get those edits from a book reviewer or even if you're paying somebody to do your edits because you're going to self-publish. It's going to go much faster and be a lot cheaper if you take care of some of these things first. So I thought I'd share.
So okay, I've got questions now. So
good.
I think we just changed the way we're doing this show. You're not supposed to use things like shrug and I don't know, lean to the left or something. Why not?
It's not how it was explained to me, and I understand. It's not it's not saying you shouldn't use them. It's that you don't use them as instead of saying he said, she said, or just like not saying anything at all. So what you could do is you could say he with your fantasy, where did all the townspeople go? Period. Quotation marks, and then he leaned against the door frame. That's fine. Those are two separate sentences. It's tagging it. It's saying he said. Where did all the people go? Comma, he leaned.
Oh, okay.
That's what you're going to avoid.
So you can't have something like, oh, I don't know, comma, Thomas shrugged. Like you can't.
Correct.
What? I don't see the problem with that. But I am the newbie.
Right, and in some worlds it wouldn't be a problem at all, and in some cases maybe even some of those got left into the manuscript. But in general, that again, every publishing house you work with is going to work with their own criteria depending on where and who they're marketing to. So I'm working with Eternal Press. It's predominantly YA, young adult readers. They have a different. They want different things than if I were writing for Harlequin, Fury or something like that.
Yeah, but then she also said you should really try and get back to just he said, she said, because they become invisible, that people don't really see them. But then I hear on the other flip side of things, you can't use that too much either, because then that becomes, well, not necessarily boring, but
right.
You know what I mean? You don't get then a feel for your characters, because I try and have my characters very sort of specific, and they're little things like, I'm talking with my hands now, no one can see me. What the? That sort of thing. That's who they are. So if everyone was just like, he said this, she said that, then I don't know, I have a bit of a problem with that as well. So when I'm reading something and I see he said, she said, I'm like, oh Christ. There's other terms for that. I don't know, and I become critical of it. So when I'm writing, I find if I've got too much of that, I try and change it. But apparently that's wrong as well.
I don't know if it's wrong. Here's what I think about that. And remember that writing and publishing is very trendy in that there are language trends. And so let's say 25 years ago, no one wanted to do he said, she said, so we have a lot of he shrugged, he smirked, those kinds of bodily tags. And now, obviously, it's turned around and we want to make it a little bit simpler. Now, what you can do, and you're right, and your reaction is correct, is don't even tag it. If you have a clear enough characters and your characters have language quirks, which is a really great way to identify them. Or they have a funky saying. They say, or whatever that is. And again, you have to be cautious with that too. You don't need to say he said, she said. Now you can just put their comment in. And then put another comment in, and there's no tagging at all because the reader's going to understand who's speaking. That would be the ultimate art in making dialogue, is to have your characters so distinct that we get them immediately.
See, I wanted one of my guys to have a Russian accent, but kind of like a Russian-German sort of accent. But that, and I've seen some reviews of some books where someone's actually tried to write that. And the common review is, that gets tiring pretty quick. So I haven't alluded to anything like that, and I think, you know what, he can be Russian in my head, but to everyone else, he can whatever they interpret it, I suppose.
Well, you can do you raise a really good point. What do you do if you want your characters to have a regional accent? You want them to have an accent of another country. English isn't their first language, but you're writing in English. One of the ways of doing that is to just alter their syntax a little bit. So in Russia, when Russians speak English, the syntax is shifted around. That is also true Chinese and Japanese. If English is their second language. So you can hear, just from some of the shifts in syntax, you can hear then that accent. But you're right, you can't write it out phonetically, or you can't try to capture a regionalism verbatim, because you will render your piece unreadable, and then you've lost the game. If you go back and you look at 17th century novels, there was a lot of effort to capture the regional dialects that were heard. A number of female authors in particular were very interested in preserving those interesting languages. And so they were writing these, a paragraph of dialogue that it was regional with all these commas in it and weird spellings. And they wrote themselves into oblivion because no one could read them. You could read it like the first year it came out because you could hear it maybe locally, and then it was over. So I caution against that, because you want your books to last more than 15 minutes if you can. Well,
that's an interesting little segue. I don't know if you saw it was all over the webs, and I'm not going to try and find it now because I've forgotten the lady's name, but there's some library of the future being set up where a lady has had her book approved for publishing, but it's not going to be published until 100 years' time. And I had thought about that. I thought, how would Catherine feel if her book that she's currently got with the editor, if they said to her, cool, your book is amazing, we're going to publish this, but in 2114. How do you feel about that? And would you do it?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't, because I write, futuristic books, and then the game would be over. Everybody would know if I was right. I think that the 100 years in the future was, and maybe I read a different story, but similar. It was for memoir, like what Mark Twain did, which is he wrote all of his memoirs and then said, you can't publish this until 100 years after everybody involved is dead. And I believe that there is a woman memoirist who also was doing that same thing. So she's writing the memoir, but it's not going to be published until everyone is good and gone.
But it raises an interesting question. Like, would you do it, if memoir or not? And if you'd written a fantasy book or something, and to see how people would perceive that in 100 years' time. I mean, we do have, a number of books that people have been reading for hundreds of years, but they're sort of a rare few, aren't they? They're that 1%. Could you imagine someone that just publishes through Smashwords, something that they've vomited up on the weekend, decides that, I'm not going to publish that for 100 years?
Yeah, I don't see that going anyplace. I think part of I don't. I really don't. I think that we are creatures of our current culture, and the books need to be embedded in that culture. And the reason that we read books 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 3,000 years later is because they were popular for the most part. Herman Melville aside. They were mostly popular in their time and their products of their time. And then people said, oh, well, this is interesting. I'm going to pass this along. I'm going to keep it on the shelf. I'm going to keep the scroll rolled up. I'm going to discover this during the Dark Ages and reissue it. You need sometimes that history in order to make it a classic, and it needs to stand the test of time, not just jumping into the future, but getting itself dragged through the mud of the present all along until it becomes a classic.
Well, yeah, and that's sort of what I'm trying to get at. I just pictured, in 100 years' time, going, oh, there's a new book out. Guess what? It was written 100 years ago. Let's read it. And people go, man, is that how they wrote back then? This is terrible.
Right. How unfortunate. And how did they even live? It'd be like looking at dinosaurs. How did you do that?
Did they not have editors back then? Yeah, I don't know. And what then? The requirements. I know there's the memoir thing. Wait till everyone's dead. Fine.
Right, which is mostly what they're saying, I think.
But if they opened it up to other genres, then how do we determine what will, be shelved for that 100 years?
Well, we don't. That's what's what's so great about having a background in literature and a number of degrees in it, for that matter, to see what was popular at a certain time. Let's say, when Edith Wharton was writing, Edith Wharton and Henry James were friends. Edith Wharton, Your House of Mirth, Age of Innocence. I had to look at my bookshelf. Age of Innocence. She was a runaway bestseller. That woman made a fortune. Well, and she started with a fortune. She was already rich, and then got even more rich, right? So, and Henry James is writing the same time, same kind of subject matter, but his were considered a little more erudite, a little less, quote, popular. So it's kind of like Danielle Steele and Michael Cunningham are friends. And Michael Cunningham's like, well, I'm really good and I get all these awards, but Danielle Steele sells the heck out of everything that she produces. So Edith Wharton and Henry James are in a car. She has a car. This is 1870 or so, and she's driving around in her car. She says, "Look what I bought with my last royalty check." And he's in the car with her, and he says, "Oh, that's nice. With my last royalty check, I bought a little red wagon." Yet they're both considered now. So here's your two contrasts. They're both considered and taught as equals now. So, Henry James got his due, unfortunately not while he was living. So that's always interesting to me. It's like, what's super popular and then what lasts? And we don't know. We don't have any kind of way of really telling.
Well, yeah, and I found this article, a version of it. Margaret Atwood is the author, and yeah, it says, this is from Slate.com. It says, time capsules are pretty awesome, but a new initiative called the Future Library Project is taking them to a whole new level. For the next century, one author per year will contribute a piece that will then be sealed away until 2114. Margaret Atwood is up first.
Because she starts with an A, right?
Yeah. So the artist that's part of it... So Atwood is known for writing about the future, often dystopias, yes. Aren't they all? In novels like The Handmaid's Tale and the Mad Adam trilogy.
Right.
So yeah, she said it freaks me out a bit when I think that many of these writers aren't born yet.
Well, what is the point? So what is the point of the Future Library? I mean, to me, the point of it, and in Future Girls, it's a big deal to preserve and pass around older books, because the older books are telling you what you would not otherwise have access to. Plus, I have the 21st century, this century, as almost dark because all of the electronics were so easily destroyed. So anything that was, all those smash word books, all that ebooks, all of that is lost because they don't have the equipment to read the works. and in this case, the government was able to, or private sector was able to just make it all disappear.
Well, Margaret's 74. She's 74, and my fear is, right. So she's going to die well before this book comes out. All of us will, but I have this fear that she's going to pass away, even if she lives to 100. Another, what's that, 26 years. That this whole concept then falls apart with them going, yeah, it's not really working, this whole future library thing. Like, as a business prospect, you're not going to get your returns for 100 years. So as a director, you're like, well, that's not going to happen. If they go, oh, look, she's gone now. Let's just release it.
Who's going to know, right?
Who's going to know, right? Yeah. I don't know. Who's keeping tabs on this?
Well, who is keeping tabs on it? Is it a nonprofit?
Oh, you'd have to be. Imagine going to the bank asking for a loan, a business loan. Going, look, I've got this idea. My business plan is that I'm not going to release any product for the next 98 years.
I don't know. That sounds kind of like what goes on in Silicon Valley. This is going to be great. We don't know what it is. Would you like to give us $1 million? Sure, we'll pay for a sock puppet. Seriously.
Well, if anyone wants to give me $1 million to invent a sock puppet, you know where to find me.
It's just hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've just seen the sort of the rigmarole you've gone through to get your book, finally with some sort of release month, date, that sort of thing, and just the time it takes. Now, and again, you don't know if your Future Girls is going to be a classic book in the next 10, 15 years. You don't know.
Not a clue in the world. I would like it to be. I would like to be the next Margaret Atwood. That would make me super happy.
But it's probably not going to happen, is it?
Don't know.
You don't know.
I'm going to hold out.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to totally squelch that hope.
Oh, but yeah, I'm just trying to get some sort of head around why you would even bother doing this. That's all.
Oh, the 100 years?
Definitely.
Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do the 100 years.
You wouldn't. I probably wouldn't. But then again, I might, just to annoy people 100 years down the road. And go, wow, this man was angry back then.
But if you did it now, you would have the joy of annoying people right now. That's what's really cool.
Yeah, but you don't want to flood the market because everyone's just going to copy you.
You flood the market with annoying things.
Yeah, that's right. I've flooded this market with nearly 150 annoyances. So we're coming up to our 150th show. What are we going to do?
What is it, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2 weeks? I don't even think we're going to be... I am in Amsterdam, so I'm not even going to be talking to you. So it's going to be we'll have to make it the 151st show. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry about that.
I don't know what we'll do anyway. We'll just probably keep going. I think that's the main thing, just to keep going.
Keep going.
Anyway.
Because we're having a good time, even if our listener... We probably have one listener at this point. Sorry about that.
Probably, yeah. Apologies. Feel free to log off and come back in 20 minutes. Now, we were going to talk about... You've got Brenda Knight here on the list. She was on our show, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. And she is speaking at the Redwood Writers Club on Sunday. And so since I'm the new chairperson of the presentation committee, so in other words, I can get people for the show. Obviously I'm not perfect at it. I get people for the show. I'm going to get people to speak at Redwood Writers coming up this year. And when I saw her, Brenda is offering and discussing what to do, insider tips on what publishers are thinking, what to do for your book to make you more sellable for publishers. I thought Brenda wouldn't mind if we set her Brenda all over our show for half an hour.
No. Well, yeah.
So I pulled some of her talk and wanted to share it with our newbies here so that you too can if you weren't in Sonoma County to listen to Brenda, then you could listen to this, and we will give you the information that Brenda shares.
So they recorded. I know there was a couple of YouTube things of you, I think, talking. Do you guys film them or record them of her talks?
Probably. I'm not gonna cop to it because I don't go to the meetings. I'm in charge of getting speakers. And I just looked at no one raised their hand. I had to raise my hand. But I looked at the committee and I said, happy to do this. You realize, of course, I do not go to meetings, not because I don't believe in what they do. I've been a member for like 28 years, but because they meet on Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon. Seriously, I have things to do Sunday afternoon. I need to sit around and stare at my husband Sunday afternoon. That's the whole job for Sunday afternoon. So I don't want to abandon him, and because we don't have that much time together. And so I just don't go to meetings. I was like, if you guys met like Thursday night, I'd be all over it.
I thought, see, you went that way, the whole spending time with the husband. I was expecting you to say,
that.
Sunday afternoon, that's when I drink. That's when I drink.
I'm not saying that I'm not wine tasting because I might be.
Not recently.
I'm most definitely doing something else with my cute husband.
Mowing the lawns.
Yeah, mowing the lawn could be part of it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I want to be with him. I don't necessarily want to be at a meeting. It just doesn't do anything for me at all. And I told him that. So they said, no, that's okay. You don't have to be there. Please just organize this.
Right. You should find out, though, if they are recorded. Put them up. Put them up on the site. If the person wants that, obviously. But someone takes notes, clearly, because you've pinched them and put them down.
Right, because I took them.
So some key points. Your books must sell. Well,
yes.
No shit. Moving on. Think
about this. Think about this. We get very wound around the axle as authors because our book is our art. It's everything. If we've spent 2 years, 5 years, 10 years on this masterpiece, this artwork, we can't see it anymore. Okay? I mean, we can't see it anymore. Fair enough. What Brenda is saying is that it could be your life's work, but if it doesn't sell, if you can't go to a publisher and say, hey, I've got this many people who follow me on Twitter, I'm an influencer in this category, it's very hard for the publisher to sell it. You have to help them along. So that's what they're saying when they say, is your book going to sell? I know it sounds like kind of like a, duh, of course we have to ask that question. But many, many authors do not ask that question. They don't look at the book as a product. They look at it totally legitimately as a labor of love. But the labor of love and selling a book are two different activities.
But if you look at it as purely a product, then does that shine through equally that you don't have that passion, that invested love of it as well? I don't get attached to the projectors that I sell. It's just a model number. So what's to stop the fact, you're just sitting down and writing a book based on the fact that it is just a product. So you take it from that sort of view of going, well, I need to do this, this, and this. I've got a flow, a mind map, and I just bang it out because it's just a product.
That is the $1 million question. Many of us have read writers who their first book was amazing because they had spent 5 years in a garret writing, just pouring their hearts out, right?
Yeah.
So you get the first, and they finally sell the first book. It could be a quirk. It could be they hit the market right. There's lots of luck involved with that, which is too bad. So they hit the market. Everything's fabulous. We loved, oh shoot, what's our Hunger Games? We loved Hunger Games. Yeah. Hunger Games was fabulous. Love you, love you, love you. Do it again. Now the writer is writing, as you said, to a formula because they're now it's been reversed out. It's like, okay, you were super successful. Now we want you to do it again, and that sometimes chokes authors up to the point where they can't write another book.
Yeah, and that's it. Um,
Yeah.
It's a fine line between your book must sell, of course, but then, and it is a product. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was driving to work, going, yeah, if you're going to take it really seriously, then it's a business. So and your book is a product, but it's not
Yes.
just a stock standard product that you hold in your hand either.
Right.
That it's got all these other little bits attached to it. It's very strange, and I've come across some authors who I can pick straight away. I think I've even spoken to some who've followed some sort of management technique to try and get their book written because it is a product to them. But they just seem a little bit detached from it. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, let's okay. Some of the best people to talk to, if you want to find out about how to turn your novels, how to be a writer, but then turn that part of it, being a writer, into a business, the women to talk to are romance writers. They have got it down. They're good. They're successful. They get what to do. They manage technology as soon as it comes out, and they are super great at what they do. They also work a full job. I mean, theirs is a 40 to 50 hour a week job, partially writing and then partially managing all the pieces that it takes to make that book successful.
Yeah, but there's only so many men coming out of a pool or cleaning the garden on the verge that you can write about. So there's got to be.
They write about everything. Now, it's not a genre I necessarily read, but it has a reading, it has a following, and the readers don't mind the repetition. It's a very comforting thing. It's like why we watch sitcoms with the same characters all the time. I mean, it's not necessarily original, but it's comforting, and that's okay. There's something to be said for that.
Do you think though then certain genres lend themselves to that better? So like the romance thing is very sort of I've come to clean the pool.
Definitely. I think that romance definitely does. Fantasy, you need to be a little bit more out there, so you get to change it up. You can be a Terry Pratchett, develop your world, and then just populate it with various people so that you have different stories. My Future Girl series, I have 3 different characters in the 3 different books, and can do more if it works. And if I feel like it, I can do more because I just have them travel around to either the future or the past. And I have a wealth of options, obviously, to go forward with that.
Yeah, but then people would then get quite fickle when it comes to fantasy or even horror, all those sorts of genres. That if yours is too similar to another thing, or that same author has written 2 books that are along that same line, people get it's a bit too much like the other one. But for some reason with the romance thing, you can have 2 authors that have both written the same thing about a gardener who can't trim the hedges properly and ends up cutting his neighbour's grass. Then they can be almost identical, and both people, someone will buy both those books and say, oh, these were great, one was a bit saucier than the other, but blah blah blah. It's strange. It's like, I guess people can't get enough sex basically. But when it comes to other genres, people are so quick to trash it, saying it's too much like this. Oh, with so and so must have been an influence because it reads like such and such book.
Right.
So you're sort of doomed.
But that's the art. What you've described is why writing is an art. Why we spend so much time studying the market. Why we need to know about it, because you need to know is your book just like this other book, or is it super different? Because the balance when you're selling books is that you have to walk into a publisher and say, hey, I've got this really good original book. It's just like Hunger Games, And seriously, that's the sentence they want to hear. I have this really original book and it's just like A, B, and C. Oh, great. Now we get a handle on it, and then they can go forward with it. It's the biggest irony of creative writing there is.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, someone's calling you. It's probably your publisher saying, stop talking about it. It's probably, you can probably go answer that. Speaking of odd phone calls, while I'm going to be potentially talking to myself for a minute, is that, I don't know, help me out here, people. I've been getting a phone call every day from Boulder, Colorado, because it comes up on my phone, because I'm in Australia, so it's a bit novel seeing an American phone number flash up. But I googled the number, and it turns out it's this Microsoft scam. So I've been ignoring it, and I sort of tried to find out what it's a bit about. My brother sort of had answered the call once before, and it's usually a person saying, I need to get access to your computer because our systems deem that you have a virus and it's affecting the Microsoft network.
Oh, interesting.
So I have been letting it go, but I've been tempted now. It happens every day, usually at about 11 o'clock. So I don't know what time that is over there. Like it's 9 o'clock now, and it's what, 4 o'clock
Yeah,
your
it's just in
time.
the evening, like, 9.
And it is
That's
the
like
same
evening.
number all the time. And I'm not sure what I should do now. Like, because there's nothing that, you can't report it. Police don't give a crap. But,
Well, yeah, and you can't, now you can block it.
yeah, I can. But a little part of me wants to have a bit of fun with it too.
That's actually, I think that's the question.
Yes.
What can I do to screw these people up?
Correct.
That's what the real question is, isn't it?
Yes. Now, my
Yes.
contractor has been getting these calls as well, and his wife answered the phone, and she'd strung this guy along for 5 or 6 minutes, and then said, look, my husband deals with the stuff, with the technology stuff. Can I put him on? I don't really understand what you mean. I need to buy this software to log in so you can fix our computer. And the guy's like, yep, sure, not a problem. So he gave the phone to Darren, and he goes, okay, sir, are you looking at your home screen? And Darren said to me, I was out the front. I was actually pruning the hedge. He says, I turned around and said, yes, I'm looking at my home. And the comment, okay, can you click on the start button? And
Sure.
he goes, where's that? Is that near the letterbox or the water meter?
Oh.
Yeah. But they just don't get it. So stupid. So I don't know. I was tempted to answer the phone and go, hello, Microsoft Technical Support, may I help you? And then probably just hang up.
Yeah.
I don't know. So there you
just
go.
go click.
If anyone rings you saying that you have a virus on your system, you don't. Well, it depends on if you're looking at a lot of romance websites, then you might do, but they're not going to ring you about it.
Maybe.
Maybe. Anyway, it's a big thing. So, yes, you answered your phone, or did someone leave a message?
Nope, because it's one of those calls when they didn't get anybody. I have an advantage, is that we use the landline for, when someone says, what's your phone? And you say, and we give them this number, and that works. Much better.
That's what we do. I use my home line for fax, and so we still get spammers ringing, and then end up talking to the fax machine. It's hilarious because it answers for them.
Great.
Yeah, mind you, I do feel a bit bad. I must ring the. It's not the Red Cross. Who are the ones that do the blood taking? Is it the Red Cross?
Red Cross?
Yeah, I think it's the Red Cross. Someone has donated blood recently and given the wrong number, and then they ring us every month saying, we're looking...
Oh, my goodness, we're back.
And they leave a voicemail going, Janice, thank you so much for your recent donation. We'd just like to confirm your next appointment is such and such. And I'm like, right. So
They do great work. Our Red Cross does a big blood drive on Halloween, because why not just take that and run with it?
Well, why not? No, we're not that creative here. No,
I thought that was pretty good. It's like, all right, you guys at least have some sort of.
Yeah. No, I'm never around when they ring, because if I heard it, I'd just pick it up and go, look, wrong number, seriously. But I just don't want to have them go, well, now that we've got you, would you be interested in donating? It's like, no, I'm a skinny man. That would probably kill me. But anyway.
My son used to do that, because you share a body type with my youngest, and he would go donate blood, and he said they were just horrified when he walked in, because it didn't look like he had a lot sloshing around on his frame. So he said, yes, but I'm here for the free cookie. During college.
Jeez. Is that a college thing? Pay you
like, you understand, I want the free food, I'll give you my blood. Like, oh my God, we need to pay more money, kid.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, okay, so we covered that, your book, it's got to be sellable as a product, and there'd be more involved with that though. Like, it's got to be well edited and a complete package. You can't really go to a publisher and say, well, I've written 3 chapters. What do you reckon? can you?
Correct.
I mean, if you were Stephen King, you probably could say, I've got an idea for a book, and they go, good, publish it. But
Right.
for the
Yeah.
rest
Bring
of
it
us,
over here, right over here, Stephen. Yeah.
yeah, is it on a napkin? That's fine. We'll take it on toilet paper from you. We don't care.
Right. That's right. We only really need the mind map, and then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, but if you're like the rest of us who
But
struggle,
if you're a real writer, if you're not Stephen King, have the whole book already written. You can't sell part of a book.
what about cover? Do you have to give them a whole product? Go out and find your own cover?
No.
Hmm.
No. And if you're doing a children's book, you don't need to bring in your own illustrator unless you are the illustrator. Oftentimes, the publisher, if they like it, then they'll hire an illustrator, and then you get to argue about that for the next 6 months. So, no, you don't need that. You just need the whole book. And in fact, even with a non-fiction book, I would have more than just a chapter or two. I would really see if I could see it all the way through. Because you want to be able to really respond. Even though they don't respond fast to you, I like to be able to respond fast back to the publisher to just say, yeah, I'm on board and I'm totally into this, and here you go. I'm enthusiastic. Please be enthusiastic back. Now, let me give a shout out for Eternal Press. They spent forever sitting on my book. By the time they said, okay, got the edits in, I got an email from the editor, and she said, you know what, you've been waiting a really long time. When do you want to, you choose, when do you want to release this? Do you want to release it the 1st of November or the 1st of December? And so I chose the 1st of December so I could get, I needed some sort of lead time to discuss it. And then she gave me an advanced copy review. They call them ARCs, advanced review copy. And I said it was a very big PDF file. And I said, and so I emailed her back yesterday, and I said, this is great, and I want to send this to reviewers. And I asked people, I went on Facebook and Twitter and said, hey, if you want to have an advanced review copy and then post a review on Amazon on December 1st, I'll send it to you. And it was too big to send. I don't know. It was a page. It was a page. I think a InDesign file. She got back to me. She got back to me within 2 hours and said, here's another copy. It's smaller, lighter. It's got your cover on it. We made some of the corrections, and I've got something that I can send out. So once we kind of got it going, they've been very responsive and are really happy to help me help sell the book.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
The other way you could do it is have them just provide a link, and then just, if anyone wants it, they can just click a link, even put a password in, and download it. I don't know.
They could. I think I'm actually better. I'm happier sending it directly to people who volunteer to read it.
Yeah.
I like that. Then I have a list of them. I can recontact them. I can say, hey, can you write a review? I mean, I can control it. And that's the other thing. Many of us are pretty much into controlling our world, and we want to do that.
Well, so the 1st of December, does that mean then, are you going to do a Christmas special?
I don't know about Christmas special, but I will do. I mean, it made sense so I could write Future Run, which is the 3rd book. I want to be able to write that during National Novel Writing Month, at least as well as I can, and then set up and send out Future Girls to reviewers and get some hype going, get the Twitter feeds going, and so when it launches, I've got at least some momentum, and I knew I couldn't do that in time for November 1st.
Oh, well, we'll have to have you on the show then when it's released.
I think I'd like to come on the show. Yeah,
Okay.
I schedule myself. I know I'll show up.
Yeah, well, do it. That'd be good. Look, and have them talk to our booking agent, and we'll see how we go.
How do you pronounce her name?
I'm not sure, actually. We've never met.
That's true, we haven't.
It's good, though, that you're going to, have another one out, and just before Christmas, actually. Because that's
it'll be the ultimate Christmas gift. Let's just go with that.
The ultimate Christmas gift. Buy. Comes with a free gingerbread.
The ultimate Christmas gift.
Hey, what a cool... There you go. You see, you're starting to work out your publicity stunt now. Looking
Yeah, I'm good. I've been thinking about this for flipping ever, so yes, I'm good.
looking into your future, I see a book.
The Future Girls book.
Yeah.
For Christmas. Everybody will love it. Buy 5. Hand them out.
Great. We need you on like some sort of community TV like Wayne's World.
Yes. That'd be fun. That kind of thing would be very fun.
I don't know. Do they still do that? I mean, do you have like community TV?
I think we have YouTube channels. So I definitely think people are doing it. They're just doing it on YouTube. And you have a better reach, certainly, and you just put your camera or your iPhone on a tripod and go from there. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Oh, and I don't know what's going on with your internet, but I might give you a
We
quick
would
buzz
do that,
back.
but we're not in the same continent.
No, I might give you a quick buzz back because your internet has just taken a poop.
Oh, really?
Yep. Oh, don't you love Skype? Anyway, here we go.
How's that?
Yeah, that sounds alright. Well, we'll see how we go.
Huh.
It's come up with yellow, but that's alright.
Yeah.
Moving on. We should probably get moving on. What
Moving
else?
on. Moving right along.
What else have we got here?
We'll do our bits if you want to just go from there.
We can do, just quickly. Yeah. So, before you publish, do your best to start writing for one-line magazines, blogs. So, get people to share your work. I think that's just that crux of that we're always on about of you just got to set up a community around it. Because after all, you can't sell your book if no one knows where you are or who you are, more so.
Yeah.
You know, if I get my book published in the future, I'm guaranteed of like 2 people buying it. Because I can say, well, the podcast is our thing and we've got like 2 listeners. I don't know. No, we've got more than that. But that's the community. The Newbie Writers is the community.
The average book sells 200 copies.
Really?
That's the average.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So let's give you at least the average of 200.
All right. I'd like to be above average. Can I have 202?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's make you above average. Like Garrison Keillor. All the children are above average.
Of course they are. Now, have a good Alexa rating. Alexa.com provides traffic data. Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical on that. That's out of all of the stuff on here, that's the one point that I have a little bit of an issue with. People have built careers on trying to improve your Google ranking, global rankings for websites. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. The thing with Alexa as well, and some other similar sort of products out there, the key to your website sort of becoming a mainstay, getting a good rating, is also time. So I've found that like Newbie Writers actually got not too bad a rating, but it's been there as a domain for 6 years or 4 years or something like that. It's been a while, and I read somewhere it does need time, whereas my business one's only been up for a year and a half, and it barely registers a blink. So, and I still get people.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it needs to sit there.
It used to be. Go ahead.
I was going to say it needs to sit there because places like Yahoo, Google, Dogpile and Ask Jeeves, I don't know if they still exist, but they have bots, crawler bots, and it's just a little bit of software that goes out and just scours the internet and logs the websites, logs any changes, that sort of thing. And that's where your ratings also come from. So,
so like, because they used to, and I haven't heard this in a while, to be honest, the Clout Score. What's your Clout Score? And I had a Clout Score for a minute or two, and they would, say, "Hey, you've got a Clout Score." I say, "Oh, hey, yay!" But I have not heard much from Clout. Has it changed up?
I'm not sure. That's a very good question, because I too was getting emails maybe every couple of weeks going, "Congratulate your Clout for this post is 50 or 60 or whatever the thing was."
Right.
You get these numbers and, hey, make sure you log into Clout because the following people have given you a +1 or something. But I don't see that. I haven't seen that for a couple of months now. So if anyone is still clouting around, Send me a cloud. I don't know. That's weird. Cloud.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we'll put these into the show notes. And look, apologies, I forgot to put the show notes up last week. I'll do that soon. Hook your book. Get a great second title. Yeah. So for yours, like for Future Girls, it's what if you have the whole future before you and the future sucks. I always deem
Right.
that second title as like your little catch cry. You know, like, yeah, it supplements the main title.
Right. It gives it a little, and this is what I read. If you're self-published, you put that secondary line that describes the book a little bit. You put that as part of your title in your Amazon listings, and then that also comes up, and it makes it more searchable for what people are looking at. So that's just FYI. It's just another thing.
Just wonder. Yeah, at that. And you've got to do it like she says, you know, think movie posters and film trailers. They all do it. You know.
Right. Like, you know, like in space, no one can hear you scream.
That's right. Obviously know what the publisher specializes in because they all specialize. That's true. There's no point in giving them a romance thing if, you know, Brainstorm Press do horror.
Right. Now, I know that sounds, we're just saying the obvious, but apparently artists and authors don't pay attention to that. They don't pay attention to what the publisher is specializing in. So you can't just send, I'm sorry, but you can't just send this blanket, you know, express. I'm going to send 1,500 editors and publishers, and here's my great idea. It's really, you're hand selecting them, you're looking them up. If you've met them, that matters. It's a much more laborious process, and I don't think that there is any streamlining that has been invented yet that's going to help you as an author make that a faster process.
Is that because people take that, you know, blitzkrieg approach and just go, well, if I just send this out to everything, then I'm bound to pick up one.
Right. That's exactly what they think. Fair enough. Okay, you know that, and that works in sales. You know,
yes.
If you're making 96,000 calls, you're going to get 100 yeses. But you're better served for being very specific, so you don't end up getting a reputation for just throwing stuff out there. You want to be more strategic.
Well, yeah, because I think, you know, with each community, publishers, it's a bit like in my business. I know other AV companies, and I'm sure in, you know, Andrew's business, it's all about schmoozing and creating that community of other like-minded so-called competitors. That publishers would talk to other publishers too. And so they'd probably say, oh man, I got this book come through the other day. And then someone else goes, yeah, me too. Like, right. Okay, well, that's the game they're playing. I think it probably would hurt your chances eventually, somehow.
Yeah, I think it would.
All right. So, yes, your book's coming out on the 1st of December. I'll make sure to check it out.
Thank you.
I know what it's about. I won't spoil the ending.
Don't spoil the ending for people.
All right, let's do a prompt.
Let's do a prompt.
I'll read this out. Ever stare at a word for so long it not only loses its meaning, but you question the spelling, the history, and why you need this particular word at all? Or is that just me? No, it's me as well. What word has always bothered you? What word do you love to write and never tire of using? And where does that lead? I don't know about what word I love to write, but the word I love to say, and it's rubbed off on a mate of mine too, it's a really bad word. And because it's just a word, it's no one in particular, but retard. I love that word. It's so derogatory.
Yes, definitely.
But it's derogatory, but not in a crass sort of, well, someone might think it's crass, but you know what I mean? It's not like a blatant swear word. And it's now part of my vernacular so much that I've got to be really careful. I think like Julian did something stupid. And I'm like, are you a retard?
You may want to be careful about that.
Yeah. So I love that word. That's my favourite word. What's yours? I reckon I know what yours would be.
Yes, I like the famous bad word. what is my favorite word? I should have thought of this before. I get caught up in words. A lot of what this prompt is that I start looking at a word, and I'll start thinking, well, where did that come from? Where does it have a Latin base? Is it French? Then I need to go to the OED, and then I need to go to the American Heritage Dictionary, and then suddenly I've lost 15 minutes because I'm obsessed with the word. So that's why I thought I should just write about being obsessed with the word and get some writing done, no matter what it looks like, right?
Yeah, that's right. I reckon your word is marvelous. I see that a lot from you. I reckon that's your go-to word.
I looked for that in Future Girls because you mentioned that.
Mm.
No, you mentioned in Future Gold. I'll have to when I go through it tomorrow. I'll have to look for marvelous and take it out.
Well, you don't have to take it out. Just thin it out. I think that's just for you. That's something that you'll say if you like something or appreciate something. I was like, oh, that's marvelous, and that's fine. But when it's in, I guess, written word, and you've got a lot of characters that are liking things, it can get a bit weird.
Yeah, it can. So I will have to look at that and change it. Oh my god, I have to change it.
Nah, just don't put the word retard in there.
It wouldn't work for the time that I'm working with. So with Future Gold, no. With Future Run, maybe. Although I punish criminals. In the future, they don't get they're not put into jails. They're just repurposed. Their minds are scrambled a little bit, and so in a very Orwellian sense, they're fairly incapacitated, but they can still work. So you have all these laborers. So in a way, you're kind of a repurposed retard.
Great, that's awesome. I work with some of them.
So that's how they handle it, because then the person who did whatever nefarious activities they did, they're still productive. They're not a drain on society, but they're no longer dangerous or subversive, if you will, because there's always that. That's what fiction is made out of. Is like, are you subversive or are you just telling the truth?
Well, yes. And just as long as it doesn't become like a Johnny Depp movie where he has his brain put into a computer.
Right. I know. I didn't go there.
No, I haven't seen that yet, but you know what? And I like a lot of his movies, but I looked at that and went, yeah, right. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. If it's playing on the airplane, I will probably see it, because I travel enough that I can see all of those movies that are sort of marginal, that are only good if you're traveling at high speeds in a metal tube and you can't move. It's like, oh sure, I'll watch that bad movie. Click, 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 click. 4 in a row. That's when I was flying to Helsinki. 4 movies in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's when I watched the Lego movie. So you go.
Oh, the Lego movie. Where's my pants? Now
yeah.
Yes, well, I watch movies while I do quotes, and the problem is if I watch one and then, like, Sharon will say, we should watch that. We should watch this movie. I'm like, I've seen it, but yeah, all right. And then I watch it properly, and I go, wow, that was crap. I didn't realise. So, pause it, whatever, go and be on the phone for 20 minutes and then come back, and you don't really notice how bad things are. So here's a question for you then. Your Future Girls thing, are you going to end up on Audible? Are you going to have an audio book? Do they talk about these things, or do they wait to see how they sell first?
I do not know, and we are going to have Betsy Fastbringer come on the show in a couple of weeks and talk about how she created her audiobooks. Sharon does it too, but Sharon's like me, where she's got a tech and a voice, and they just take care of everything. But Betsy actually produced her own audiobook for Fire and Water. Yeah. And we're going to talk about what that costs and what that means, because creating audiobooks is not an inexpensive proposition. So, well, we're going to talk about that, and I don't know. That's a good... Yeah. I don't know if I want to do an audiobook or not.
Because, for us, we've signed up with audible.com. So go to audibletrial.com/newbiewriters. And you'll support us by clicking that link. You get a free audiobook if you sign up to them. Hey, why not? It's free.
Get a book from someone who cares to make it an audiobook.
Get a book what? Get a book from someone who cares and make it...
Get a book from someone who cares.
Yeah. Hey, there's a good thing. Audibletrial.com. We care.
Well, apparently I don't. So
If your book's not on audibletrial.com, then you don't care enough.
you don't care about your readers and listeners. You're
No.
a bad, bad author.
Here at Audible, we realise that reading is a pain in the neck. So why not listen to it? That's how it should be. I'm going to contact them and say, can I do some bumpers for you, please? And so, are you too lazy to read? Then audibletrial.com is the place to go. Sign up for a free trial and you can listen to your heart's content and not read a thing.
So to even make it better, we need to put Spark Notes on audible.com.
We do, yes. But, you know, listen to this. I've clicked Game of Thrones. I haven't really jumped on the Game of Thrones bandwagon, but for the bits I've seen and bits I've read,
I haven't.
It's very good. So I'm not trashing it. I've just had no time to get involved in something so crazy. But looking at this one, it's got 4.5 stars, 26,000 ratings. Imagine having that on your book. Far out.
God, that'd be awesome. Game of Thrones is in a category on its own.
Well, yeah. I'll play a bit.
Books on Tape presents A Game of Thrones, Book 1 of A Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, man, I want that guy to, like, order cake. Books on tape. I played this on a computer. Anyway, that's a bit strange. Why would they say books on tape? I guess that's probably the company name, Books on Tape.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think they need to change it, a bit like they changed it in 21st Century Fox. All right.
All right. Do you want to do Word of the Week, brought to you by, and I can't get the numbers right for Amber's production company.
629 Publications.
Oh, I was right.
You did. You got it right. And this word comes from Arlene Miller's Weird and Wonderful Words series, Big Words 101, which always sounds a bit kinky. Kyriolexi? Is that how you say it?
I think so, yeah.
Kyriolexi. Which sounds like a very bad sweet wine. I'll have the Kyriolexi, thanks.
Oh, yeah, that does. That's cool. I thought it sounded more like something that you didn't want to acquire when you were abroad. A case of Kyriolexi. Yeah,
true. Or some sort of glue. Can you get the Kyriolexi? I need to glue this person's arm back on.
Yes. Going back to the Lego movie, some sort of glue.
Yeah, that's right. Kyriolexi. There you go. The use of literal expressions, which is what it ties in what we were talking about before. Really, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he said, she said, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, Kevin's mouth droops.
Oh, who knew? Sometimes we're brilliant. We don't even know it.
I know. Sometimes we find these stupid words and think, why? Anyway, let's do a tortured sentence. Next time, don't put the wrong emphasis on the right syllable. Tortured sentences. Okay. These laws were...
I had to add this.
Yes. With this...
No, I just say I had to add this because it was so... I thought, oh my gosh, there was such a breakdown in someone's education. So yeah, go ahead and read it.
Yeah, I just read this ahead. This is stupid. These laws were put in place initially to defend our developing country against Britain. It was America's right to defend themselves against the invaders. Right.
Isn't that marvelous?
Don't think Britain ever really tried to invade America. Gathered?
It very much did not invade America. In fact, everybody who was on the ground were British. And then after that, they said, oh, maybe we want to do this ourselves. It was just, and I corrected the student definitely, nicely. But it's like the only invaders we had were us, and that's from our Indian native perspective. Now you have invaders.
Yes, that's right. And plus,
yes, if you want to look at it that way.
Didn't the Spanish also look at the Americas too when the world was being
on the
discovered?
other side? Yeah.
So
in the California side. Mm-hmm.
Look, Britain.
And they were definitely invaders also and killed everybody.
Yes. Well, same for Australia. Britain invaded Australia. The Aboriginals are still annoyed, and rightly so, because they sent criminals here.
Yeah.
So, so be it. Yeah, wow, that's really wrong.
Thought so.
Speaking of that sort of stuff, just quickly, this year seems to be a bit strange, but, September 11 was a couple of days ago for you. But there didn't seem to be any real hype. Normally, all the social media feeds are just flooded with, big American pictures and, hey, sort of in remembrance of. I saw one on my feed. Is it still big over there, or are people finally, after all this time, going, yeah, it happened, but we're not going to make a big ho-hum song and dance about it?
I think part of it is, I think what people are looking at is, by making a big hype about it, you're undermining the gravity of it. And we're being a little quieter about it because it is still a defining moment in American history, but not one that you necessarily want to exploit, and which is unusual. I mean, Americans, we're good at exploiting pretty much anything. So, we're not having, September 11th big blowout sales, right? Yeah. Because how tacky is that? So it's subdued, and I think that's a good thing. I think that no one can ignore it. All the flags flew at half-mast, but that's about it. And it was a very quiet, maybe a classier way of acknowledging what went on.
Yeah, it just seemed this year. Normally, we even get on the news a number of sort of reports of, there were September 11 memorial services here. The president came out and gave a speech here, and look at this picture of a man dressed in full uniform crying while saluting the fallen tower. All this sort of stuff. It was like full on.
Right.
This year,
I think there's been some backing off. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was just strange. That's why I thought I'd ask. And if anyone else has got a different opinion, please podcast@newbiewriters.com. Send it in. But we seem to get more traction on the news about Oscar Pistorius shooting his girlfriend than we did over a tragic event that happened all those years ago. So I just thought it was strange.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, it's a good question. It was just very subdued. And there wasn't I was happy to see that there wasn't a lot of people trying to grab it and use it. That made me much happier than ignoring it. It wasn't ignored, but I mean, it just wasn't. People weren't trying to manipulate it or manipulate our feelings about it for their own ends, and I did appreciate that.
Well, let's hope it doesn't happen in 20 years where you have the September 11% off sales. That'd just be disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. That would be bad.
All right. Well, speaking of which, let's do a quick quote of the week. Two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not sure about the universe. Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein, yeah.
Gets back to the retard comment that I made before. Anyway. Now, let's do a shout-out. You've got a shout-out for Beth here.
I do. Beth Barani, who has been, I guess, a couple of times. And bless her heart, took one of my advanced review copies today so that she could write a review for me. I really appreciate that, Beth. She is running a class, Prepare for NaNoWrite More, during the month of October. It's an online class, and you can visit her on Prepare for NaNoWrite More. So that's coming up, and I just love NaNoWrite More. My husband doesn't, but I do. So it's coming up in November. So if you need a class to set up your book, I'm bringing my book with me to Germany, my third book in the Future Girls series. So, if you're having a challenge with that, give Beth look up Beth and see maybe if the class will help.
Do you think, though, that NaNoWrimo has evolved a little bit more than just, for that month, you're going to smash out a book, to people now spending October planning for that so they can just write in November? Do you think it's changed?
I think that's fine. They encourage that. That's what I'm going to do. I need to set this up so that it can go. The whole point is to get you to write. If you have a propensity for editing while you write, which is essentially what they're trying to address with this program, and you circle around your first chapter forever because you keep changing commas and you keep saying, is it he said or he slammed the table or he shrugged, and that's what you spend an hour on. NaNoWrite More is for you. It helps you break through that because you're just churning out words, and it can be a huge help. So no, I think that setting it up, they don't care. Set it up. NaNoWrite More is just there to help writers.
Fair enough. All right. So then next week is going to be a bit different. There won't be a show on the weekend because Catherine's away, which is fun. So we'll be doing it midweek. I think we've settled on Thursday my time.
Thursday.
So if you can't make it for the live stream, that's fine. But the show will be, I will still post it up on Saturday. We just won't be doing all the funky hangout stuff on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right. And we don't have a guest then, I don't think, because it's...
No, there was no way I was going to be able to coordinate a guest between, like 4 time zones.
And apparently with the Google Hangouts, there's an applause function. I've got to find that so I can abuse that. So
yes,
hopefully we can hear some applause. All right. So I think that'll do it for this week. Until next week, we'll see you then.
See you then.
Your book starts here on the Newbie Writers Podcast.